Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
And today we're covering the sequel to the 2005 Fantastic Four movie, Rise of the Silver Surfer. Yay!
Yes, we're actually covering this. And with the Fantastic Four steps coming out this month, first steps, 4 steps.
No, 1, 2, 3, 4.
We decided to cover this movie since the major controversy with the new Silver Surfer had people talking about the original version. And just like with the first film, this was another good Fantastic Four movie. Yes, we said it.
Yeah. But before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notifications for future podcasts and Multiple Pause videos.
Yes, thank you for joining us today, subscribing to our channel, sharing our videos, commenting, everything you do. We appreciate you so much. You're awesome.
Yes.
So yes, we went ahead and rewatched this movie. It had been some time. We own it on two different discs, both obtained from Blockbuster before they closed, believe it or not. And so we went back to make sure we didn't miss anything covering this for you. And I know for me, and I think for you too, it was just as entertaining this time watching it as it has been the other times we've actually seen it.
Right. It does have some flaws we did notice, some things we think could have been done better, or some things we didn't care for, but they didn't hinder the enjoyment.
Yes. So those of you not familiar with Rise of the Silver Surfer, came out in 2007, superhero film. And it was a sequel to the first Fantastic Four movie, which we did cover last year. You should see that coming up. Check it out if you haven't seen it. And they're both based on the comic book, directed by Tim Story. The film itself did really well. It runs 92 minutes, so it's a little over an hour and a half. The budget was between 120 and 130 million. It garnered over $301 million at the box office. So it was not a failure for people saying it sucked and it was bad and it was a failure.
Right.
It was not a failure commercially or financially.
It just made a little less than the first movie, and they're like, "Oh no, we gotta shut it down." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Well, they needed that win because there were 6 production companies: Constantine Films, 20th Century Fox, Marvel Entertainment.
Oh my god!
And remember, guys, this is before Disney got control of 20th Century Fox.
Right.
1492 Pictures, Ingenious Film Partners, and Dune Entertainment.
Good grief. Okay. So, with this one, we actually remember quite a bit of it because we had seen it many times when it first came out on DVD. But, like we said, with the new female Silver Surfer in the MCU, now they decided to use the Shao Bal version from the comic.
A one-time character that appeared on 1 or 2 pages. Yes,
and this movie that we're covering uses the Norrin Radd version. This one is the one that has been used predominantly throughout the comic and is the most famous version. Why MCU decided to use the female version? Because they want another female. That's just in a nutshell.
MCU.
But at this point,
decided to make her female.
So, but for this one, people were like, "Well, what was wrong with Norrin Radd?" And their claim was, "Well, this movie already did that. We want to do something different. We want to do everything the opposite of these 2 movies."
Well, that means you're going to get something totally the opposite of what you want to see.
Right. And while people sometimes do have some different opinions on the movie itself, but one thing most people agreed on was that this was the most accurate version of Silver Surfer they've had on screen, whether in animation or in live action. This was so far the best one they had. And unfortunately,
not of Galactus, but yes, Silver Surfer.
Yes. And while you're watching the movie, he really sort of is the antagonist for a part of the film because it's leading up to Galactus. But yeah, Galactus was the one partner you could understand, like, yeah, this wasn't accurate at all. It shouldn't have been done. It's the thing we can't agree was done poorly for this movie.
Now, there wasn't a lot of difference in box office take between the 2 movies. The first one earned $333.5 million, and the second 301.9. So it wasn't a big difference. It definitely was not a failure. And then, as we mentioned, this is before Disney acquired this, as well as 20th Century Fox, as well as the rights back to X-Men and Deadpool. And as you know, Chris Evans played Captain America later, and then on top of that, this Johnny Storm version was killed off in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes, to sort of be a screw you to people who even remotely liked the first movie, that we are never doing this movie again. This is our new version, and you are going to like it. And to that I say, I have eyes. I can just go watch something else. If
There
you
was
go
supposed
see
to
it,
be a
fine.
third movie, which was canceled.
Yes.
And the Silver Surfer was announced to appear in the sequel as a villain/hero.
Right, so sort of anti-hero then? Yeah. Which makes sense because there is a post-credit scene with him being alive. So for this main one, it's supposed to be about Reed and Sue's wedding because they weren't married in the first movie. This was sort of one of the main differences from the comic. They're getting married in this particular film.
Yes.
And it's sort of been building up to this because apparently they've been trying for so long. It's always been interruption. Well, for here, it looks like they're finally gonna make it to the wedding, get hitched. But in the distance that they've been Reed had been tracking, I guess, the government, there's been something coming on a collision course to Earth, and you think it's a meteor, but it ended up being the Silver Surfer who sort of prepares the planet to be fed to Galactus. And they sort of build up Galactus the whole movie as being this big omnipotent threat. And he technically is, but like I said, he's just a cloud in here. And I don't know, this is nothing like the comic version. I can agree that that was sort of a letdown. One of the biggest villains of Marvel was a cloud, and now it's not so intimidating maybe as it was back then. And now it's like, you could have done better.
Yeah.
But for Silver Surfer's portrayal, he was definitely the standout of the entire film.
Now, what we didn't recall is Andre Braugher being in this role
Yes!
as General Hager.
Oh
We were
my
just like,
gosh.
oh my gosh, and it was great to see him. Too bad we didn't know who he was back when we originally saw him.
Right.
But he did a fantastic job. So if anyone says, critics, that he brought the film down or didn't do a good performance,
No.
you lie.
He's almost the same as he is in Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
Yes.
just out the comedy.
So what was interesting is that he was supposed to have a supporting role on ER, but he dropped out because he wanted to do this role.
Mm-hmm.
And Tim Story said the script originally contained Nick Fury, but the role eventually became that of General Hager, as having Nick Fury would have forced Fox to purchase that character's rights, and also Marvel's refusal to license the character. Some of Hagar's lines in the film originate from Nick Fury in Ultimate Extinction.
So he would have been Nick Fury before Samuel L. Jackson. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, it is.
So, with the movie itself, there are a few flaws because we want to just blindly praise something. Besides Galactus being shown,
which concept?
Right? Besides Galactus' entire design deal, all that, yes, we agree. Probably the weakest part of the movie, which you had mentioned when we were watching it, was the wedding subplot.
Yeah. Before that, I thought maybe they decided to go with Galactus as this emerging cloud, pillowy thing, because maybe they thought it was more intimidating and daunting that this giant presence, instead of having the physical form they probably didn't want to pay to animate, could be more frightening, thinking of it just taking over and people really not seeing it, just seeing like a mist or this
cloud.
Yeah, it was a cloud.
That's all they call it, cloud.
This form that has no form taking over the Earth. And maybe that's what we're thinking. But let's be realistic. It probably didn't want to pay for it to be designed.
Yeah, that
and
too.
Digitally done. They didn't want to pay the extra amount for it. Most likely that's it.
Exactly.
But you did mention in the one that's coming out, at least they did get that right with having Galactus
yes.
physical presence.
Yes, they just reversed the problem.
So yes, the wedding subplot, it was irritating.
Unfortunately,
that was the irritating part of the movie, because all Sue did was complain and itch. And it didn't belong in the movie. She's supposed to be a superhero by now. The first movie is gone. She should have a different mindset. Instead, her focus on having her wedding. And she should have just gone to the justice of the peace and been done with it. But no, we had to make a big deal out of this. Her priority was not the world being safe. Her priority is being in a dress
with a wedding,
parading around for a while. Now, for those of you who might think I'm saying it because I don't like weddings, not true.
Right.
Absolutely
and don't
not
want
true.
romance.
It just I love it. It didn't have a place in this movie.
It
should have been some other thing or event that they were involved in, and not the freaking
Which
wedding.
is probably why they wanted them to already be married from the get-go, both in the MCU, and people were demanding, well, why weren't they married first place in here, and avoid that, which I can definitely see now why people would say that. But that being said, I think that's really where the flaws for us stop. The wedding subplot that could have been avoided, really, and Galactus' form, and the underutilizing that part of the movie, and that's really it.
I wish they had further explored how they at one point were able to transfer powers.
Yes,
and they never explained how Johnny, if they were transferring powers, the other parts of the movie, and then he said he could take them all and defeat Rad on the board. Here's the point: how you didn't explain if they were transferring with touch. Yeah. How him touching all of them, they all were transferred.
Yeah, and then just swap again.
Based on what was happening in the movie, that should have never been a possibility.
Right. And it only happened, looked like, after Silver Surfer touched him and he like grabbed his throat, which they reuse a lot of scenes from this movie in the MCU one. So for ones who were saying it was one of the worst, it's the worst movie or one of the worst movies and bad, they sure use a lot of scenes from this movie in the first steps. And you see it just by looking at the trailer. Yeah. He grabbed him and he had fallen to earth. Once again, they reused that in the other one. And it looked like it came as a side effect for being touched by Silver Surfer. But they don't make too clear on how the powers work. Exactly. It's sort of just he has them.
Look, he can do this. This is cool.
Yeah, this mysterious mystic being, and that's pretty much it. Which they could have done better.
Yeah.
But as far as design, character personality, the effects, and everything else, even the voice, they got spot on, really.
I agree.
And especially found Lawrence Fishburne was the voice.
Yes.
And Doug Jones was him in the, I guess, the costume.
Right. It was like Darth Vader.
Yes.
So it was originally marketed in a teaser trailer attached to Night at the Museum.
Really?
Yeah. So they really wanted to have an audience that was all ages if they were attaching to Night at the Museum. Mm-hmm. And I can say, generally for this movie, you didn't have bloody scenes, a lot of violence and things going on.
Really? No.
So this movie definitely was something that all ages could watch.
The worst you had was Doom turning someone into a bunch of atoms, like he just used his powers and he was just gone, like he dust. That's about as violent as it got. And yes, Dr. Doom came back, and why did you trust the villain?
Exactly.
Stop trusting the bad guy, they warned you.
So quickly, how was this received? Well, Rotten Tomatoes, before it was rotten, scored it low, 4.8 out of 10. Metacritic actually said that it was amalgam of recycled ideas, dead air, dumb quips, casual sexism, and pseudoscientific mumbo jumbo. Well, that's their
just
opinion.
Johnny existing now as sexism because they got a problem with him.
The Times said the film is everything you'd expect from a movie that began in the pages of a 1960s comic book. Garish, giddy, emotionally simplistic, boldly idiotic, and mercifully short. Now, that being said, Rise of the Silver Surfer was nominated for 15 awards.
Yeah, so it had to do well somewhere.
Winning 2 of them. It won the 2008 Golden Globes Trailer Award for Best Teaser Poster against Quantum of Solace, Saw 4, among others. And it also was nominated for 5 additional Kids' Choice Awards.
Wow, okay.
It won, Jessica Alba won for Favorite Female Movie Star over Keira Knightley of Pirates of the Caribbean and Kirsten Dunst.
Okay.
So it lost to Cloverfield, one of the worst movies ever made.
Oh my God.
I've seen it and it was crap.
Oh my God.
For the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. Best Fiction Film Award in 2008. And it also lost Best Summer Movie You Haven't Seen Yet at the MTV Movie Awards to Transformers.
Really? Okay.
But last but not least, it was voted as the best family in the best family category for movies to watch.
Okay. So it did appeal to somebody, and there are times, right, and there are times where critics are not right about certain movies, and sometimes audiences aren't right about certain movies if you've seen lots of times, and vice versa. Sometimes critics are right, and the audience isn't. So it just depends.
Let us know what you think in the comments. What are your thoughts?
Right, and for me, this was the best Silver Surfer we had on screen. Mm-hmm. People really expected just bring him back for this new one, but they clearly didn't want to do that. And we hope that this turns out well when we see it.
Quickly, the cast. Owen Grufford as Reed Richards, Jessica Alba as Sue Storm, Chris Evans is Johnny Storm,
Yes.
Michael Chiklis is Ben Grimm, Julian McMahon is Victor Von Doom, Lawrence Fishburne voices you mentioned, and Doug Jones Physical as Norman Rad Silver Surfer.
Yes.
Kerry Washington as Alicia Masters, Andre Brower as General Haggard.
Yay.
Rounding it out, Bo Garrett, Brian Poston, Zach Grenier, Vanessa Manillo, Patricia Harris, and Stan Lee as a rejected wedding guest.
So Stan Lee. Yeah, nice show. No, I'm really Stan Lee.
Brilliant as always. So if you've seen Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, let us know in the comments. What are your thoughts? Are you looking forward to seeing the new movie coming out? If so, tell us why. Or if one of these is your favorite, the first or the second, let us know as well. If you haven't seen it, we have it on disc. You probably can only see it on Disney Plus for free with your subscription.
Now,
Otherwise,
yeah.
you probably have to buy it.
Yeah.
But if you haven't seen it and you just want to catch up before the new movie comes out, don't watch that 2015 piece of crap. But
Right.
these two watch, come back and tell us what you think.
And if you don't already subscribe for updates, weekly videos for your anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us during Superhero Month. We hope you are enjoying our podcast and you are having fun as well. As always,
You are special. Thank you so much for watching, Master
And
Entertainment.
Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.